Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Magick, Witchcraft, and Occultism. This is episode 9, part 3 on the Conscious Mind and Magic. Now, I would just like to mention before we begin that this, part 2 and part 3 are on my personal philosophy on how the conscious mind relates to, the last episode was chakras, and this episode is on how it relates to magic itself. Now, I think most practitioners with 20 years experience and more are generally going to view this and agree with my opinion on this area and aspect, but I'm sure someone won't. But that's okay. Everyone has a different tradition, philosophy, and practice, etc. But I think the majority of people who watch this video, I feel it's going to resonate and relate to them. Okay. Now, before we begin, please remember to like, share, subscribe, click the little notification bell so you never miss an episode, so I stop getting lost in the YouTube algorithm, as I'd really appreciate that. All right, let us begin. Magic and the conscious mind. The conscious mind is associated with many areas of magic, such as white light healing, affirmation, sorcery, shadow work, the 7 chakras, and many more. Many different areas, and I'm only going to touch on some of them here because I will eventually go over all the things I just said. But I just wanted to make sure I made this clear, just in case I didn't make it clear in part 2 on the conscious mind, is that the root chakra, the solar plexus, and the throat chakra all primarily relate to the conscious mind. Now, that's not to say that the sacral chakra, the heart chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra don't have some kind of bearing on the conscious mind. It's just to a lesser degree, or to a secondary degree, you might think of it or look at it as. So they have a bearing on it where they have some influence on the conscious mind itself, but it's not a primary effect. And I just wanted to make sure I made that clear in case I only implied it last time. Okay, now, is the conscious mind used in the practice of magic? And the answer to that question is widely. All right, let's go over some things here. Now, let's start with the most common function of magic, the use of words. When speaking to another person or using the spoken word in the practice of magic, either way, it requires the conscious use of the spoken word. Now, when you say your incantations or a mantra or an affirmation or a prayer, you have to consciously concentrate on the words you're saying. You have to put your intent into those words. You also have to believe those words that you're saying are going to have some kind of measurable effect on your life in the future or in the present day in some way. Now, let's go over those 4. Affirmations. Affirmations work on the principle that you are constantly repeating a word or phrase, usually 1 to 3 times, back to yourself. By repeating this common phrase to yourself, it will eventually work or filter down into the subconscious mind, and then slowly over time, you'll start to work to achieve this goal with the conscious mind through conscious effort, without even realizing you're doing it after a while. And then you'll start to see the outcomes. Now, that's just one example of how you are consciously using magic to achieve something you're trying to attain with just words. That's why it's called an affirmation. You're affirming and reaffirming something to yourself that you're going to do or achieve in the future. Mantras work on the principle similar to an affirmation, that you are repeating a word or phrase. The difference is you're doing it specifically while in the practice of meditation to achieve a specific goal, and usually like to build up energy. An example of a mantra that you might use during meditation with the hand sign, summon my will, I summon my power, I summon my might. And just keep repeating this phrase to yourself and concentrating on the solar plex chakra and that energy expanding outward in combination with breath control. Just very brief example. Incantations, or spells, if you like, are words you are consciously and knowingly directing towards a specific intent to achieve a desired effect, normally through the practice of ritual magic. That's the basic difference between how it separates it from an affirmation or a mantra. You're usually using it specifically during spell work itself. And you also have prayers. Prayers are used commonly when you are in worship of your higher power, your God, your deity, when you're doing general worship. Sometimes it's associated with a tribute or a sacrifice or whatnot. But the point is, it's words that you're consciously using with the intent that some higher power, either above or below, is going to answer your prayer and help either give you what you want or need, or direct something in your way, something. But a prayer is a petition to a higher power, higher than you. That's why they're outside of our realm, and that's why they're supernatural beings. Supernatural is above and beyond. I don't want to get too far off that point, but you understand that as a prayer, you're using your conscious mind to consciously concentrate on the words you're saying and asking for something or giving thanks for something that you already received, etc. Okay, next is shadow work. Now, when you're practicing shadow work, the three minds are exceptionally important, but the conscious mind is most important out of the three minds when it comes to this specific practice. Shadow work requires a deep and conscious effort on the part of the practitioner or the participant in the practice of shadow work. First, you must identify what the problem is. Second, you must understand what the problem is and where it comes from, as it involves diving deep into your past and learning and understanding yourself and why you do the things you do. As there's always a reason why you do these things, and they always stem from your past. Now, there may be aspects of your personality that you dislike, and you have to do the shadow work to analyze yourself, to figure out what went wrong where, what is the root cause of that problem, and then make corrective changes towards it, moving towards the future. Now, that requires a lot of analyzation of yourself, a lot of conscious thought, a lot of conscious effort. That's why it's associated directly with the conscious mind. All of the techniques you can use that are getting to the subconscious and superconscious mind, but primarily shadow work is going to be needed or the conscious mind is needed in the practice of shadow work itself. Now, I will be doing a whole episode, and probably a whole little series like I do everything else, because I can never contain anything to one episode. Third, you have to make corrective actions or find forgiveness within yourself for either yourself or for someone else who might have wronged you, and that's how you're going to start the healing process, and then you can make all these changes in your life. Now, shadow work takes a long time. It would take years, but that depends on every individual and what traumas that you individually may have had and how much individual shadow work that you might need to do. But the point is, you're doing it with a conscious effort, and that's why it's associated directly with the conscious mind. All right, as usual, I'm out of time, and there's a lot of things I didn't go over and I didn't cover, but very briefly, other areas of magic that require the use of the conscious mind for the functioning practice of magic itself is really any type of energy healing techniques, such as aura healing, direct energy healing, indirect energy healing like Reiki, white light healing. All of sorcery requires any type of psychic power, requires conscious effort, and if it's not consciously controlled and it's subconsciously controlled, it becomes a secondary ability. But I will get into those topics eventually. Really, any tree of magic or branch of magic requires conscious thought with conscious intent, with conscious belief to achieve any goal. I'm just out of time. I'm sorry. But as usual, I wish you all the very best of luck with your research, and go in peace.